Welcome in, everyone. UGA football live with JC Shelton. Um, a moment for our fallen dogs. Yep, big sigh. I feel it. This is a safe place, folks. This is a safe place. Jump in the comments. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. Georgia falls to Alabama in Tuscaloosa, 41-34, and what ended up in a complete thriller. Right? Bama had a 30-7 lead at the half. Georgia comes back screaming. Looks like an entirely new team, and it's not the first time we witness this, right, Georgia fans? A tale of two halves for Georgia. The offense in this game was weird, right? Because we've witnessed this season a couple of times Georgia's offense take time to get going, and that was the case today, of course, right? But not only was it the offense that couldn't get going early, the defense. And I mean, you think about that since Kirby Smart took over, this defense is the best in the country on a year-to-year basis. And the defensive staff, some of the best minds in the sport, are coaching a blue chip defense, 4 and 5 stars everywhere. Guys are going to make money on Sundays. And we're not used to seeing 4 touchdowns on 4 drives. Georgia had not allowed a touchdown coming into this game in the entire season. 4 drives, 4 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe looked like the best player on the planet through the first half. And Georgia defense, it wasn't just plays they should have made, they didn't. It was gash plays. And Milroe was perfect. I think he didn't throw an incompletion until his 13th pass. He also hit 100 yards, I believe, in the first half rushing. Could have been early in the third. That's just incredible. I mean, you tell me that before this game even started. You tell me that this is what's going to happen. I'm like, no way. I don't know what you're smoking. It's strong because that's not going to happen. It's Kirby Smart defense. Milroe will make some plays here and there. But no, it was the opposite. And it was an absolute nightmare, fever dream for Georgia in the first half. I'm watching it like, what did Georgia do for 2 weeks in preparation for this game? Because Alabama and that offensive staff and Kalen DeBoer, and it's a first-year head coach. It's a first-year staff. Not only do the staff have to get comfortable with the players, it's the other way around as well. A lot of expectations for that team. Obviously, it's Alabama. And they look more prepared on offense. I'm no coach, obviously. But it seemed like Georgia was reeling on both sides of the balls. And when I say reeling, I mean looking lost on defense. I mean, I think that motion was either it was the second touchdown. The motion from the running back in the backfield, and CJ Allen has to not only catch up to him as he's motioning during the play, but also cover him man on man. And he was beaten before the ball was even snapped, if you look. He's on the other side of the defense, motions out, he's beaten already. Right? That's not preparation, that's not communication. That's getting out schemed, is what that is. And you can't put on CJ Allen. It's getting out schemed. So it was just plays like that in the first half, right? That just left me puzzled. And then the offense, obviously, and it's taking so long to get comfortable. And Alabama was doing something pretty interesting here. So if you watch back too, and this is also instant reactions for me. So I do want to watch this. It's going to be a painful one. I'm going to have to watch this again. But several times, Georgia and Carson Beck are in a need to get it type of situation, whether it be third down, long second down. And not only did he look a little lost, but I think Alabama was skiving their coverage. They would line up in one safety high and then move to cover 2 after the snap. And Carson Beck he was seeing ghosts. And that in that first half, and guys, we're definitely going to get to the end, right? I'm trying to work it through it here. By the end of the second half and 2 picks later, Carson Beck just had no confidence. Balls that he usually puts a lot of steam on and make it to the target, he got a heck of an arm, are falling flat. He's throwing them nervously because his confidence was absolutely shot. Georgia couldn't really run the ball. When they did, they had success. I mean, Trevor Etienne averaged 4.6 yards per carry. I'm looking at it right here. They didn't commit to the run. It was pass heavy. And the thing is, too, is Alabama's dropping 7 or 8 players. Yet we still are going to make Carson Beck sit there and pick it apart. right? Run the ball. I don't know what I don't know if Georgia was maybe from a matchup standpoint considering Tate Ratledge being out and being like, well, this is our best option. It's to throw bubble screens, run it here and there, but get those. Georgia calls it run plays when they do screens like that. But I felt like there was success there in the middle of the defense, but obviously the deficit, 28 points, in just 2 quarters of play, played a part into how Georgia was attacking it. And then we get to the second half, and Georgia obviously has a 23-point deficit to overcome. So everything in the playbook was open, deep shot, deep shot, deep shot, deep shot, and Alabama was playing safe with it, right? Because, and this was I told my wife this, I was like, Bama's sitting there thinking, all right, make them chew their clock because they need all this clock they can have to get back in 23 points. And Milroe is playing like a god out there on the field, right? So make them chew the clock. All right, we'll give you 10-yard gains here and there. We'll give you space to work because I know it's going to chew the clock. Now, Georgia took advantage of that. They really did. And it was just an incredible shift because that defense, that Georgia defense, completely turned around in the second half. It's coaching, it's adjustments. But when you think back to this game, I do want you to think defense here. And I've got Simon Coleman here on Facebook. Still got to be proud of them for fighting and almost coming back. Absolutely. Absolutely. But look at that first half and tell me, there was no quit. There were adjustments made. Georgia thought they were going to win this game in the second half. And they played like it. Now, mistakes galore, right? The fumble, just the turnovers. Georgia had not turned the ball over, had not allowed a touchdown. 3 turnovers from Beck. Well, 4. Sorry, the last interception. 4 turnovers from Beck. Drop balls galore. I mean, and also that plays a part into the offense too. How do you get in a rhythm when Carson Beck is making accurate throws here and there, and your guys are just not making the play? I mean, they got to. It is a ton of 50-50 balls today. A ton of those. Georgia made 2, right? And a lot of those were drops. Now, I will say that there was a lot of contact by the defense, Alabama defense, in that young secondary, which Georgia did ultimately expose in the second half. A lot of contact, not running with the receiver in phase and then not making a play on the ball, but making contact with the receiver before the ball gets there, and it's still not defensive pass interference. 3 offensive pass interference on Georgia, but no defensive pass interference on Alabama like that. That was just, it was so puzzling. It was mind-boggling. It's not something you can change if you're Georgia, but it's something that definitely hurts. You can't say it doesn't. I mean, that's what game-changing plays, those 50-50 balls. So it's just monumental to me, the amount of mistakes that Georgia still made. Now, less in the second half, but still had a chance. Listen to this, right? We already talked about Alabama 4 touchdowns in the first half. They went touchdown, 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 downs, interception, and then it was 2 punts in a row, a field goal, 3 more punts, and then that touchdown to Ryan Williams, which he made the entire play, right? That was a good ball by Jalen Milroe, but he had 2 guys there that he may miss. I mean, he's a special player. Do not get me wrong, special player. You got to make a play there. Got to tackle him, right? Find the ball. You couldn't find the ball in phase. And Julian Humphrey gets caught defending a freshman. Now, does he play like a freshman? Hey, guys, did you know he's 17 years old, by the way? Ryan Williams. I don't know if you've heard, but he is 17 years old. Got to make a play there. But Julian Humphrey and the supporting safety. I got one here from Heather Deanne Dukes, on Facebook. I think we all know to be successful in Tuscaloosa, they needed to be functioning on all sides. Absolutely, right? You got to be balanced, especially on the road in the SEC and against a talented team like that. You have to be balanced. Georgia was definitely not in the first half. Second half, more. That defense, folks, played lights out in the second half. They really did. I know you take away that huge play to Ryan Williams, the first one I'm talking about, where he got stopped, let's say 15-yard line, 20-yard line, and then obviously the touchdown. You take away those 2 plays, we're probably celebrating one of the best comebacks in Georgia history, maybe the best comeback. So that defense really impressed me in the second half. And I thought, the way that first half played out, the edge, right? Georgia could not set the edge, which makes me think, that's why I bring up the schemes. I'm like, where are your adjustments in game after the first drive? Because Alabama kept going at that left side. They kept going at that left side of the defense with a QB run, but also with the read option that also found the hands of the running back there and Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, and it kept doing it. That's the thing that just blew me out of the water in the first half. Like what obviously they are finding your weaknesses as a defense and how you line up, and they're exploiting whatever weak side that they can because they know they can set the edge, and it was incredible. And then once and we saw this last year, and I thought Milroe was going to make plays. I thought Milroe was going to make plays, no doubt about it, and he did. That many to where you looked like you were at a high school team playing a college team in the first half. It was incredible. Let's touch on. And I know it's a play. I'm already getting comments about it. The last play, right? And they went to the well on those 50-50 balls so many times in the last two drives, right? It was working. It was working. Colby Young had just made a catch on a jump ball opportunity 3 plays earlier. Gets another one in the end zone there with the game on the line. I mean, you can hindsight's 2020. We can sit here and say, okay, what are you doing well? We'll go back to it. Okay. You can sit there and say you had 50 seconds left and 2 timeouts. Maybe even put the ball on the ground. I mean, you chunk play there, it'll set you up position. You could take a timeout, but could be an option. You could say shorter pass, crosser, safer play. Could be. The way I look at that play is Colby Young's running open. He's running open. Not only he had space, but also he is Colby Young, as in 6'5", pushing 250. Maybe not 250. Say pushing 240. He's a tight end body. He already showed that he can do 50-50 catches this year. He caught a touchdown against Clemson. He had that catch today against Alabama. So I don't knock the decision there in my standpoint, but I don't know if Carson Beck underthrew that or was meaning for it to go back shoulder. But obviously the game, that's it. That's the game. Yeah, I have to watch that like 30 times to get a feeling for it. And I'm sure Kirby Smart's answering questions about it as we speak. Interested to see what he says about it. This is from Joey on X. Don't think Young ever saw the last ball in combination of slight underthrow. I'm with that. Could be, right? But he was turned around looking at it. Defender was just in the best spot. I'd love to see that ball higher and deeper because he is 6'5". Take it to the back of the end zone. But that ball has to be only catchable by Young, bat shoulder. Houston Luke Smith on Twitter. You're right. I completely agree with that. Yeah, completely agree with that. Put it deeper, put it back, put it the back shoulder. I'm talking almost out of bounds, right? You got to protect the football. That's how you protect the football in that situation. And they didn't. And it comes back to bite Georgia. And I think that play is going to be under scrutiny until Georgia fans forget about it, which will be a long, long time. Absolutely. It's crushing. I think without a second half comeback, how different would you feel as a fan than what happened in that first half? If Alabama kept running, they score, let's say 48, 50 plus points, and Georgia's sitting there with 20 at the end of the game. How are you feeling then? But you saw what this team could do in the second half when its back's against the wall. I think my question in a large picture kind of situation is, what is up with this team as far as the fundamentals of things early in games when the score's 0-0 and you have all the opportunities in front of you, compared to when you're down by 23 and you have to go make plays to get back in the game and to ultimately win on the road in the SEC at night in an environment like Tuscaloosa was tonight. That's my question, is what mental work needs to be done? I mean, are they nervous? I mean, obviously, right? But I think every team is at the beginning of the game until you put a good hit on somebody or you get hit in the mouth the other way. And then you're off to the races. I mean, this is primetime college football. This is the highest level of college football. And you did not play like that, especially in the first half and at times in the second. What is the issue there? Because, the coaching staff is very talented. The players are talented. We know that. We've got some leaders there. What is that situation? Because here's the thing, folks, is you have to go on the road to Texas. Number 1 team in the country. How are you going to respond there? right? Because you can't do that, what you did against Alabama, and expect to win. Not at all. And I know we can talk college football playoff is 12 teams. We'll get back in. Well, I mean, we'll be back in the playoff. Absolutely, right? 12 teams. We have a really tough schedule. It's going to make us look a little bit better at the end of the season. But if you lose to Texas and Ole Miss, I know Ole Miss got beat by Kentucky, but Georgia fans can't really say anything there, can they? And then you have Tennessee, and I'm hesitant about Tennessee. I don't think they've played great competition. I like a lot of things they do. The secondary has not been tested really whatsoever. They're very, very young back there, just like Alabama was today. You got them at home, which Tennessee had won since 2016. But still, it's a very tough team. SEC game, and there might be a lot on the line by then. I mean, there might be bigger games. Well, there will be bigger games in the postseason if Georgia makes it. But there might be bigger games here in the regular season for Georgia, especially with the loss, with the notch in that loss column. So that's the biggest question for me. We're going to be figuring this out or trying to figure it out over the next couple of weeks. We got Auburn next week. That's a tough Auburn team. I don't have to tell Georgia fans about Auburn. That I know we have in Athens, which is a big difference from last year. Went to the wire last year, had to mount a comeback to beat the Tigers. That was first year under Hugh Freeze. They look better today. They look better today against Oklahoma. They should have won that game. Should have won that game. Right? So how does this, you had 2 weeks to prepare for Alabama. What does this next week look like for Auburn? Because talent-wise, you walk into Sanford Stadium, get back to your home stadium, and dog walk them. Get your backups in to get some experience in the third quarter. That's all things going right for the Bulldogs there. But I just can't help but think, about how this team and the penalties, the dumb ones. I'm not talking about the ones that were obviously missed by the refs. The penalties that were just absolutely dumb. The mistakes by Carson Beck, the fumble, the ball security was horrendous. You're getting chased down, cover the football, get it out of bounds, something. But he was obviously pushing because he was down so many points. And the thing about Carson is, where's that quarterback all game? Right? Because obviously the pressure is on him this year without Brock Bowers, without Alad McConkey, right? Without Cedric Van Pran up front. You have to take control of this thing. You have the talent. It just feels like he holds back a little bit much. I don't know if the belief is there for him. It should be. That track record last year is your first season as a starter. You should, and that's what you did not see with Milroe, right? That's ultimate confidence. That's ultimate confidence. Everything was working for him on the ground, in the air, complete command of that offense. And that offense is scary, I think, because I think Kalen DeBoer has done a great job schematically of playing to his players' strength and calling plays that way. I think that's going to be dangerous for anybody. But Alabama's defense, we saw it, right? They can be exposed in the back end, right? You just have to set yourself up for those opportunities. And Georgia didn't catch enough passes because I think if they did, we'd have a different conversation. Still a lot of negatives, but we'd have a different conversation as far as how this game ultimately turned out. And let's talk about this for a second, right? Because we heard about it. Alabama, Georgia, they're probably going to play again. They might even play 3 times. And that's a real possibility, right? Because the top 2 teams, the SEC standings, play for the SEC championship. Now, Georgia has a loss, obviously. What does Texas do? What does, Ole Miss has a loss as well. What does Tennessee do before this? It's a long season, and the SEC is going to beat up on each other, right? So what if Georgia sees Alabama again? Now, I think both teams are going to play a tad differently because they just played each other for 60 very, very tough minutes in Tuscaloosa. Right? That's going to be coaching staff's type of game, and then Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe playing it out again. Jalen Milroe played like a Heisman contender and maybe Heisman winner tonight. I think he's probably the best player in the country, and we didn't know that coming in because Alabama had played no one, not a soul. Not a soul. USF, Wisconsin, who else they play? Was it Kent State, somebody like that? Western Kentucky. No offense to Kent State. But now we know. Now we saw it. Now we saw him play one of the best defenses in the country and dice him up. Second half, you want to forget that one for the most part for him. but absolutely electric. I mean, you have to play him again. That's going to be a tough game. But here's my thing too. Talking about beating the same team twice, and that's what I'm bring up here. Rock L on Facebook. It's very difficult to beat a team twice in one season. If we can win out, we can beat Bama in the SEC championship. Just saying, that was an amazing comeback, even though we still lost. I like the positivity, folks, and that's what you have to ride with. And I think the 12-team playoff, the longer season, that should add some immediate positivity in your life if you let it happen. Now, a lot of those mistakes tonight were fixable, right? So if you play Alabama again, there's a real chance. And if Georgia does its due diligence from a coaching staff perspective, players from their perspective, and stay healthy, knock on wood, because a large part of that is out of control, this would be a very, very competitive game again. Obviously, I think it might be a different game, a low-scoring one. We've seen it happen before with Georgia and Alabama. It is difficult to beat the same team twice. Houston, Luke Smith. Heck yeah, I love that optimism. I agree. I'm with you, Houston. I'm absolutely with you. Thanks for watching and listening, whether you're on X, Facebook, or YouTube at the Pulse Sports Network, and processing this together. But I'm not an apologist. I think there's a lot of issues that Georgia has to face. They have to look themselves in the mirror, because here's the thing in that first half, right? Who stepped up at receiver? They didn't. It took Georgia back against the wall, which is in itself kind of refreshing, right? And I'm trying to find any silver lining I can for you guys, because we all want to sleep well tonight. It's going to be tough, but we can do it if we try, I think. Is one of the silver linings Dominic Lovett, Dylan Bell, Colby Young. They stepped up. They did. And we were looking for it all game. We were talking about it. Arthur Lynch and myself sat on this show really twice this week. And we said, who are those gotta have it guys? And Arthur coined that phrase. I hadn't heard it before. I'm running with it now. It's a new phrase of UGA football life. Gotta have it guys. Those guys where you need a first down, you need a catch, you need momentum. You throw it their way on a 50-50 ball. You throw it their way with a defender draped over them, and they make the play. Didn't happen in the first half. But the second, you saw Dylan Bell, you saw Dominic Lovett, you saw those guys step up. Arian Smith, drops galore, right? He had two that come to mind right now. There might have been even more. It was a long game. 6 catches for 132 and a touchdown. Dominic Lovett, 6 catches, 59. Dylan Bell, 5 for 100 in that amazing, huge touchdown reception that really put Georgia in the lead for 13 seconds, right? And I told my wife, I'm like, that's just too much time. Because I'm at home, not at the game, right? I've been working college football for Athlon Sports today. So I'm watching this at home. Tell my wife, too much time? I couldn't help but think it. Too much time? I only have 3 timeouts, 2+ minutes. Too much time, right? But you can't argue with the points with that much time left, I guess. But sure enough, Ryan Williams, that dude's a dog. That dude's going to be incredible. He's going to make a lot of money in the NFL if he can stay healthy too. But yeah, Dylan Bell and Dominic Lovett, those guys, Arian Smith, he's so quick. He does get separation. He might be the guy on this team that can get separation. That's all on, not even a schematic standpoint, get separation, but man on man, he's going to run by you because he's fast. He's a former track athlete. He ran track at Georgia as a freshman, right? Got to get the hands. And that's always kind of been a thing for him, right? And I think on a positive note for him, at least, he did come back after those drops and make some plays. But it has to be consistency, right? I mean, that's what separates the top-tier teams, the dominant teams, from the others, is the consistent level of play. Georgia's been everything but consistent to this point. But here's the thing. 4 games in. This is just the 4th game. It's a long season, folks. Right? And Kirby Smart teams have gotten better throughout the season in every season he's played. Have gotten better in areas. Need that to happen, especially this season. And I think part of the offensive game plan and getting these guys open has to improve a little bit motion-wise. And I'm no coach, but schematically, get these guys open, get them in motions, get them man-on-man, because that's what Alabama did. They got tight ends on linebackers. They got receivers on linebackers. You just can't keep up with them. and you have enough time to throw, and boom, there's your gain. And Georgia just couldn't recover from that a lot. Let's see what else we got. See what else we got in the comments. Why go man coverage against their best wide receiver 2 minutes left after coverage and spies worked all second half? It's a good question. That's a good half. I believe that Georgia ran pressure that down. Like I said, I watched it like you guys did. I have to watch it again. But I believe Georgia ran pressure, if my memory holds, kind of forcing them to go man with Ryan Williams. Obviously, hindsight 2020, bad decision. Julian Humphrey ran with him. He was there, couldn't find the football. It's like, if Julian Humphrey happens to get a hand up in the right spot or happens to see the ball at the last second, we're having a different conversation. It's just, and that's the crazy thing about this sport that we all love, folks, is it comes down to plays like that. It comes down to maybe Carson Beck missing that back shoulder to Colby Young. Maybe it's a miscommunication. Maybe he thought something different. We don't know. But what it looked like was a play that Georgia had hit previous times, goes back to the well again, and the cornerback was ready for it. And it probably was an underthrow. Those minute things make the difference. It's a game of inches. And that's the incredible thing. And I think, and I'll harp on it again, is what are you going to do to fix it? Because you show me Georgia's coaching staff, Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, those guys, they showed me in that second half that they can make adjustments, right? They can stop an offense and a player who looked like a god through the first half, 21-0, 30-7 lead at halftime. They score 11 points in the second half, right? And including that, massive touchdown, really two huge chunk plays for Alabama, both to Ryan Williams in that second half. You show me you can do that. Now, what were you doing 2 weeks before that to prepare? Were you just out schemed that bad? All right. Is this going to be something that's going to kind of bite Georgia in the future with preparing for teams and coming out looking lost? Are they trying to do too much? I don't know. I mean, that's and I'm asking this question knowing that I'm not going to get an answer right now, right? And we're not. We're going to have to wait for that. We're going to have to see it play out on the field. But I think this could be a good thing for Georgia. We can talk about that. I think losses traditionally are for really good teams. You can even look at Alabama and Nick Saban for that. Lose a game to A&M midseason, go on and win a national title. You look like the best team in the country the rest of the season. This could be that moment for Georgia. This could be, because you have a plethora of opportunities down the line against the teams we already mentioned, Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee. You have those opportunities to say, if we play well here, not only will we get a better spot in the college football playoff, but we'll also build confidence in ourselves to where in these moments we are on the money. We are electric. We are Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl on the line, and not only does he play well, but his whole team does. Those are the moments you have to have against these teams that you're going to have to visit on the road. And it's going to be the same environment. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. They got good fronts, offensive, defensive line. And Georgia had its moments where it lost the battle completely. Alabama had its moments where it lost the battle up front completely. I think offensively, I do want to see, there's one thing I can point to, and that is give it to Trevor Etienne. He averaged 4.6 today, and I know being down 28 points, you're not going to sit there and run the rock a lot. But there were opportunities, I think, especially when Georgia was nearing the lead there before they had the last touchdown, where you can run the ball. Run the ball. I think he's so electric with the ball in his hands, folks. I think we've not seen the best from him yet because we haven't given him as many opportunities. I think he's one of those backs, the more you give it to him, the more he wears him down. The great ones are. I think Trevor Etienne has that ability. How many times does he get tackled or he gets hit behind the line or maybe at the line of scrimmage and he gets 3 yards, gets 4 yards? I mean, remember that fourth down? Georgia was 5 of 5 on fourth down. Let me tell you what they were on third down. This is one of the craziest stats I have seen. 3 of 15. They were 1 for 11 at one point on third down. Entered the game at 39%. They were 54%, led the country last year. Third down's 3 for 15. Fourth down's 5 for 5. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. I just, what are we doing here on third down? That is quarterback play. That is play calling. blocking, right? A couple times, Alabama's cover zero blitz everybody. Georgia's lost. Carson Beck does not have a route for a cover zero blitz in the play set up for anything security blanket. It was all seams. I'm talking about the eventual safety on the that was rough, right? That was just it was absolutely what Georgia didn't need. I thought the game was over at that point. I'm not gonna lie, but then Georgia managed to come back and makes it an absolute heart wrencher. It started as one of those games where you're like, I want to forget this forever, and then it quickly became, okay, my heart's going to be beating like this for the next 3 hours. And turnovers, it was like a completely different game. This is the toughest opponent. Georgia's faced toughest opponent. Alabama faced, but they didn't turn the ball over 15 times. Georgia did. Can't do that in big games. And I think those things are fixable. So there's no need to panic completely. I know a little panic is warranted just because. We got one from Twitter. Carson Beck is trash. He played like it at times. Let's see. 27 of 50, 439 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a fumble. Rating of 135. Yeah. He looked lost a lot. And I think those things are fixable. And then I have another one here. Let's see. Elijah Norman on Facebook. Shout out to Elijah. 2 timeouts in the red zone. Why not run the ball? That's what I was kind of getting at earlier, was saying run the ball. Got 2 timeouts, right? They're dropping 8. Run the ball. There's a good chance you're going to get 15 if they're dropping 8 like that. They're not expecting it. I was thinking the same thing during that moment. And you can look back and study these things in the moment all you want. It's not going to make Georgia win the game somehow, right? The loss is there. It's in the column. What are you going to do now to fix it? And I'm very, very interested in what Kirby Smart's going to say. I'm very interested in what the players are going to say when they go on their podcasts in the next week. Will they tell us anything of substance? Because these are issues that have to be fixed quickly, because Auburn comes to town, and we know what Auburn is. It's an SEC team. It's an SEC game, a very good defense and offense that needs a lot of work. Very good defense. And you have those games down the road. You don't have a lot of time. So you have to find somebody who's going to consistently step up on offense. You have to rework things on what you're doing schematically, I think, and play to your players' strengths. I think where's the tight end? Where's Oscar Delp? Oscar Delp has that ability. I know. Really love what we saw from Lawson Lucky. I think he might be that receiving threat at tight end for Georgia. Had a touchdown, a really big touchdown, a great catch. I believe it was one-handed. Where's Oscar Delp? Didn't record a stat. Use him. Is he banged up? I know Kirby Smart said he's banged up. Can he not run well? What's going on there? Because what has Mike Bobo done as an offensive coordinator throughout his career? Throw to the tight end. Get the tight ends moving. Yeah, I know you don't have Brock Bowers. I know you don't, but it doesn't mean you have to completely go away from the tight end. They were using him blocking a lot tonight in pass downs. Is that a statement about your offensive line and how you feel about going against that front, or is that Delp and he can't move that well? So you're using him as primarily a blocker. I think you just have to work different things out, give different players opportunities. And I know they didn't have London Humphreys today, and that's a story in itself that I think we'll save. But didn't have London Humphreys, so that takes away a speed threat. But I really that was a big question for you. Where's the tight end too, offensively? So next steps, right? Georgia and Auburn next week. I believe it's homecoming in Athens. An opportunity to make a statement against a good defense. This is good for this offense to have to turn around and face a good defense again. Like, what are you going to do? This is at home. Don't talk to me about nerves. Don't talk to me about maybe faltering in the moment, not being at your best. This is when you have to be at your best. Everything is built for you to be at your best in Sanford Stadium, Dooley Field. Really, really interested in how Georgia's going to play against this Auburn team. That offense is abysmal. They lead the country in turnovers. That's why they lost to Oklahoma. Should have won that game. Threw a pick 6 to put Oklahoma up. And Oklahoma didn't have much offense in that game, but still they end up winning. Coming to Athens, Georgia. This is a statement game for Georgia. This is a fixed thing for Georgia. It's an opportunity to get other players into the game and see if they can at least get some spaces. I think we're back, folks. I think we're back. Okay. Stream cut out. Hits keep coming for the dogs. They keep coming, but we're back. All right. I was about to answer this question. Let me find it real quick. We're rattled. We're a little rattled, but not as rattled as the dogs were in the first half. All right. I think the question was where we will land after this loss. If we're talking about polls, I mean, lost the number 4 team in the country. Where you go from there? 10, maybe? I think 10 to 12 in that range. I would be surprised if it was over that because it is Alabama, a team that made the college football playoff last year, a team that's undefeated, a team that's number 4 in the country. It was also on the road, and you also only lost by that much, came back. Yeah, I don't think you dropped far. But, that doesn't really matter at this point, right? You have a lot of wins to come, hopefully, if you're Georgia faithful and the Bulldogs. And you have opportunities to prove that you are one of the top 4 teams in the country. Absolutely. And you want to be there. It's fun to see a better number besides your program's name. But it's absolutely what you do in the SEC, and we talked about those games. And we'll talk about them at length here in coming shows. But that is a good question. Where are you going to land? I think Georgia can, they can lose another game, maybe even 2, get in the playoff, right? I think that's a real possibility. But next week, Auburn. That's the key here. How do you fix some issues that Auburn can defensively provide you with a lot of issues, right? Offensively, they don't have the players right now under Hugh Freeze, but defensively, they can cause some issues. So how do you play against that team at home? Signs, everything's set up for you to have a good game. Can you do it? Can you get over this emotional finish, this very, very tough 60 minutes of football in Tuscaloosa, and keep moving? That's where the leadership of this team, I think, will either improve or be non-existent. And I think there are leaders, from what I've heard, there are leaders in this team that, as players beyond coaches, have to take this mantle and look themselves in the mirror, talk to their brethren, and get some things right. Because a lot of these mental mistakes like that, those are fixable. Those are, like I said, mental. Those are, drops, those things. Hit the jug machine. Let's go, right? Time is now. You have a loss there. Can't afford many more. You want to play for it all. So this next week against Alabama is the key. I mean, against Auburn, rather, is the key. This is when you set yourself up for the rest of the season after that loss. Very, very important game. And I can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to see what changes are made. And how coaching-wise, beyond a player's perspective, schematically, and what do you do to get the best out of its players? Because I don't think Georgia is right now offensively at all, right? So those are the questions. And thanks for joining. To all who joined, to all to watch, I'm glad we got the stream back up. I was almost ready to wrap it up, but StreamYard yet again. Hits keep coming. Hits keep coming for the dogs tonight. So we're going to get out of here. Thanks for all for watching. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube on the Pulse Sports Network. Love the comments. Love the questions. Let's keep it going. We'll do it again next week. I think Auburn is a 3:30 kickoff. So we'll be a little earlier, which I like. I'll have to stay on the caffeine till 9 p.m. It's rough sleep after that. So I appreciate it. As always, check me out at Athlon Sports, covering Georgia football and college football on a daily basis. Really appreciate the views there. And I can't wait to get a chance to talk to you guys again. We'll run it back. We'll be here. It's going to be a long season. Georgia's going to be really good. I think a playoff is definitely in phase. Maybe use that when you lay your head down on the pillow tonight to get some rest. Until next time, we'll see you. Thanks for watching.